Welcome to the Blackburn End Podcast. It was a great Halloween for Rovers, but I am now scared that we're going to get used to this winning feeling. It's getting too nice with these two wins. But let's get into the headlines. So Rovers travel to Leicester and once again take 3 points. It's Gudjonsson at the double, with Toth also taking the plaudits with a wonder save. Rovers have 2 games in a week with an away trip to Bristol, and then it's the anniversary game versus Derby. And finally, in typical Rovers fashion, we seem to have another kit leak with that rumoured 150th shirt now doing the rounds on social media. But Mark, how was your weekend? And are you feeling all positive now about Rovers?
Well, one of the best weekends ever, Mike. I'm going to be honest. Rovers won, Burnley lost. I went to watch Gladiators live tour, which I was only there for the skill and the strength. There was no ulterior motive. I was with my daughter. Wasn't just perving it on my own. But yeah, wowzers. Some of them ladies are impressive. But it was a great weekend, Mike. It was a tremendous weekend. And all caps off, I'm feeling very smug because, I mean, that rhymes. That was unintentional. But yeah, here's to Andre.
I know, it was great. And I was thinking about the fact that you had him on the mug when he scored that second goal. I was like, please don't say we've jinxed him now. You've gone and got him on that.
Well, I was a bit worried about that because I was quite impressed with him early on. And the longer a striker doesn't score, the more you get worried. But I'm sure we'll talk about him in more detail. But I've been impressed with him since day one. I think it's taken him a little bit of time to settle. But strikers need goals, and he's certainly coming up trumps with that one.
Exactly. Well, let's get into the game then. We've obviously got our initial match reaction, so let's get that. Well, mate, I've decided to record this on a better microphone because the last few weeks have been pretty awful. So I've actually had a chance to have a little think about what I've just seen, and it's a strange feeling. It really is. I mean, if you told me last year that we was going to go and beat Leicester and Southampton this year, I would have been shocked. And I mean, they're not the teams that they were, but still, it just makes us all feel a little bit better. There's a lot to break down because we're not the finished article, but we're seeing some things, and that's what I like. What I like though is Gudjonsson's showing. Well, he's reaping the rewards for what he's been showing, which was his positioning, his instincts of where to be, which is fantastic. Toting goal, making a fantastic save, and all of this. And we miss chances. I know they miss some chances, but we miss some pretty glorious chances. But it's a strange feeling. Are we on the up, mate? By God, I hope so.
Well. It's much nicer talking to you after these, Mike. I think we've had some lovely performances today. I've had a couple of messages saying, Leicester could have scored 4. They could. We could have scored 6. Lovely to see Gudjonsson getting 2 goals. And that second goal was exactly what we saw from him on his debut, to be fair. We saw that glimpse at Watford. It was a great strike. Willingness to get in behind defenders, off the shoulder, swing your leg at it, boom, top corner. I thought that there's a couple of people that I'm going to talk to you about on the pod that I think need to improve. I think I might be on my own with one of them in the centre of the park, but I think we need to discuss it. But I think today's the day to talk about the positives of it. Talk, once again, tremendous. Thought, to be fair to him, Miller looked a decent right centre half today. He's growing into that role. I think that Scotty got. Did he do really well? Did he get lucky a couple of times? But in the end, it worked out fine. I thought Albiasu was outstanding once again. Deneva brought something. Hedges brought something. Montgomery brought something. Hashi's just bundles of energy. Marishta looks a bit short of confidence, and that showed in his opportunity near the end. But 2 relegated teams, 2 wins, and 2 sets of fans singing "You're not fit to wear the shirt." So I don't know if that means we're horrific, but I'm not really bothered. 8 points off the playoffs as it stands, Mike. Things are looking up.
Only there'd be some positivities in there. I came away from the game and I was still a little bit bewildered by it because I kind of expected a little bit more from Leicester. What was your initial reaction past that since watching it again? Because obviously we go back and we watch games again and we settle down. As things change from that initial reaction, and what are you looking at now?
I was a little bit smug because we talked about what we needed to do, and we didn't say we would do it, I suppose, but we did say we felt quite confident, bizarrely. And as long as we were able to quieten the Leicester crowd, they would turn on them. We got a goal at the right time, whether it was deserved and they were going to play tough. And then we did exactly what all needed us to do in the second half. So we've said at 60 minutes, normally we die in a death and the other team are coming after us, if not at half-time. We've been winning at half-time a number of times now. We've been ahead in games a number of times. It's not the first time this happened. What I needed to see was, right, now the challenge is on. And I thought they played the second half perfectly. It's probably the first time since Watford I felt comfortable at a couple of those times where I thought we've managed to shut the game out. I also want to praise Ismail. I think he made a tactical change on about the 25th minute, whereby rather than having two up front and Henriksen in the hole, he changed it out of possession, that we had Ohashi and Henriksen behind Gudjohnsen, as shown on the graphic here. And that allowed Henriksen to get a bucket load of space. And there was a point where the camera, when I watched it back, the camera pans to Cifuentes and they're trying to work out what they're doing. And then they changed. But it was too late at that point because they've changed for us and that gave us the ascendancy. And that's where the chances started to come from. So I thought fair play to Ismail, actually.
What did you think of the starting lineup? There wasn't drastic changes, but the difference in tactics and so on. Was you surprised that we did it? Because I said that I thought that we was going to go there, set up a little bit more defensively and try and nick a goal. I do feel like there was an element of that, but we did get our chances. But this formation, it seemed to flow a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we're limited a little bit defensively because our two best centre halves that are fit are both left-footed, and he wants to go with a three. I think the only way you can fit Miller into being a centre half is playing him in that three. And I think it's given us more defensive stability and more attacking threat. So you'd be daft not to stick with it. I think personnel-wise, maybe. I mean, it's disappointing that Cantwell wasn't available again. Maybe I thought Hedges might come back in for this one. And there was a case for Montgomery to start, but I could understand the team, really. I thought the shape certainly picked itself, but that subtle tweak that he made was clever. And I like Henriksen in this team. I think there's a lot more to come from him. He's very young. I'm not saying he's looking a world beater, but he gives us that power and that desire to run beyond and that youthful exuberance almost to carry the ball. And then when you've got Deneva doing that on the opposite side, it just means that we're not as predictable, because there was a spell, wasn't there, where it was pretty obvious what we were going to do. Alabiasu was going to go high and wide, and if that didn't work, Cantwell was going to get the ball. So if you mark Cantwell out of the game like Charlton did, Alabiasu got a bit of a knock. We were knackered and we had no plan B. Now I feel like even within us having the ball, there are other options. We could switch the play. We could go long to Gudjohnsen. I feel like there's different facets to our game, and that's what's pleasing me more than anything, really.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, because that's what we was getting concerned about. We said it back in the Mowbray days about there being no plan B. It seemed to be if this works, great. If it doesn't, and there was other times where we said if we fly out the gates and we don't score, then the game's over. It was nice to actually see something a little bit different. I mean, the formation, it's not like he's ripping up trees and starting something completely new, tick-a-tack walls or anything like that. But it's nice to just see there is something different that we can move into. And I agree with you. I like the space that the players were finding, because when you're playing a team like that and the way that they were set up, there was space there to actually exploit, and it was really nice to see. And there seemed to be a little bit more confidence, but I'm not sure if it was confidence or whether it was just freedom to play. And that probably came off the results of the weekend. Like we said, you've kind of bought yourself a little bit of time. And then to get a relatively early goal on the 20th minute, I think it was great. And it started with Gudjohnsen, and it was a nice flowing move. And yes, okay, went through a couple of defenders, but he still got in there. He still had to react. And he did there what we wanted him to do a few weeks ago. I can't remember the game it was where he was like in the 6-yard box and took a touch. I can't remember which game it was, but
yeah,
he just instinctively got in there and just got a touch in, and it was a goal. And then it completely changed the game, and momentum was completely on our side then.
Yeah. And his second goal reminded me of the effort that we talked about at Watford, albeit that was at the edge of the box where the ball came across and his instinct was nothing else other than to swipe his foot through it. At that time, we talked about how it was always really going to be blocked, but that's how you score. The second goal was that instinct back, and that made me so happy because I thought he's back in terms of confidence, in terms of just there was no other thought in his head. And you're right, there was a game a couple of weeks ago, wasn't there, where we picked up that that instinct almost, he was second guessing himself and just starting to think, oh, actually, is this the right decision? And that's not what strikers who score loads of goals do.
You haven't got time to do that.
You know, there's a difference between strikers who get 20 goals a season and ones who get 10. And generally, it's not that they are miles better finishers. It's just that they're willing to gamble. Armstrong used to take about 400 shots a game. It wasn't that he was necessarily the best finisher in the world. Bradley Dack, I think, is a different story. I think he was a great finisher. Armstrong increased his chances of scoring because he had 3 times as many shots. So it's important that Goodjohnson was doing that. But I thought, yeah, it was the 20th minute, wasn't it? So the tactical change was obviously earlier than that. It was earlier than I thought. But it was nice that we had, within a game, people had decisions to make on the ball. And by that, I mean, you ask top coaches and you ask players, and I'll find a clip and try and share it from Sunderland from Luke O'Nien, and he talks about his own decision making and when he analyses the game. And if you should have 4 or 5 decisions to make on the pitch and 4 or 5 options, and he talked about how he got tunnel visioned. But my point was, we were quite limited in what decision making we had. So in terms of a team, we attacked through Ali Biosu or through Cantwell. And as somebody then, when you're passing, we were only geared to do that. Ribeiro was left back, but was tucking right in. So there was no real option on the left-hand side. Hedges was doing a job, but wasn't, he was obviously doing the job of almost a wing back at that time. Midfield-wise, was very limited. Attacking-wise, Ohashi was always too deep, and it became too predictable and too easy to stop, as we saw West Brom stopped it from watching it pre-season. And then Charlton did a job on us in terms of stopping Cantwell. And I think that I know Cantwell's not playing right now, and I think we possibly need to talk about how he fits into this. But I think if you stopped Ali Biosu and you thought, right, he's their main threat, let's double up on him almost, or the winger comes back with him and the fullback, well, then Deneva's posing a threat on the other side. So we're giving people more of a problem now. Ohashi can press you. Henriksen can look to run beyond. Goodjohnson can hold it up. And I'm by no means saying that everything's fixed and everything's rosy. There's loads to work on. But I just think we've got a bit more adaptability within a game so that we're not as easy to stop anymore.
No, and I think the Cantwell situation is something that we brought up a couple of weeks ago. I said that it's not that there was something niggling with me about Cantwell, and it was that we was over-reliant on him. And it seemed to be every time we got the ball, we wanted to try and get it to him at times, especially down the middle. And the other thing was that he seemed to be quite negative with his play sometimes, like he was really frustrated that we'd get the ball, he'd look up, he wasn't happy with the situation going forward. But look, it could be that he didn't trust that person. It could be he just wasn't quite happy with where they were. And instead of using them, he'd turn back and we'd keep possession, but it would kind of kill the move a little bit. And I'm just wondering if the lads have a little bit more freedom now to play. So it's like we haven't got that focal point of try and get the ball to Cantwell, try and get him to go. I'm not saying we did it all the time. We did try and get the balls out to the wings. But it seemed to be that when it started to come more central, it had to go through Cantwell. And he's now got the manager now needs to figure out how can we keep that freedom of play that we've had the last couple of weeks. And we have played against teams that haven't been in great form. That's pretty obvious. But we want to build on it. And bringing Cantwell back in could upset the team a little bit after they've played so well. So if you're looking at this formation, the obvious one is probably Henriksen comes out and Cantwell comes in that position with Ohashi. And I wouldn't be adverse to that, but then Cantwell kind of needs to understand what his role would be in that system.
Yeah, and I think there is a route for Cantwell in it. I think I'd probably play him off the left, whether that was Ohashi then on the right. I think he suits that role really well. But I think you're right. I think sometimes it's almost when teams used to bring Peter Crouch on, for example, all of a sudden they forget any other way of playing football and just try and hit it to him. And it's that kind of thing with Cantwell. If at the minute everybody's kind of a 6 out of 10. If you have an 8 out of 10, you're going to try and give him the ball more often, and then people just look for that, and it becomes too predictable and just something you do too often. If you tell the same joke too many times, it's no longer funny. And I think you forget other things. I love Todd Cantwell, but something's not quite right here, and I think him going has forced us really to find new ways of playing, and it's probably been for the better of the team ultimately. I'm not saying,
and it could be the opposition scouting us as well. They might not have that. I mean, body of work is something that I've said before. If you've been playing Cantwell and he's been your number one man, it's been quite easy to play against this. People are like, stop him, and you stop Blackburn. Whereas now, when you haven't got that, it's a little bit different. So it could have completely scuppered their plans, him not playing.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we are not a better team with Todd Cantwell in it. I think if you can't find a place for your best players in your team, something's wrong. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's the manager. It doesn't necessarily mean it's his team. Sometimes it's the individual player that's wrong and he can't fit in. But I've not seen evidence of that with Cantwell when he's been on the pitch. I've just seen evidence that the team looks slightly better as a team without him. But I think that also coincides with us having to find another way because we were too predictable, we weren't creating enough, and we were too open at the back. It's the dangerous combination.
100%. So we'll get back to the game a little bit more. We've kind of skipped over the Cantwell because obviously I think it is important we talk about him. But that first half, obviously it went quite well for us. But then at half time, he rings in the changes with Hedges and Marishta coming on for Deneve and Henriksen. Was you shocked by them subs at half time? Because it's quite rare to see that happen.
I wasn't shocked by Henriksen's because I thought that he's quite reckless, isn't he? He's somebody who is willing to commit a bit too much, and I think he's a bit of a red card waiting to happen at some point. You can see him just overextending for a tackle that he probably doesn't need to make and getting sent off. So I thought I understood that one. Marishta was the obvious choice. Hedges for Deneve. I was all right with it, but I was surprised by that one. I thought Deneve was having some good fun. Hopefully there's no knock in there. I can't imagine that at 45 minutes he's thought, well, I'll rest him for Tuesday because this game's done. So something's gone amiss. And I thought he was playing quite well. And I didn't think they were overly getting too much joy down that side. So I'm not 100% certain what it was. I think the only thing I did possibly think was Deneve, I thought, made a really good interception when he was chasing back to his own goal. He was having to cover a lot of ground. Potentially that was it. But I thought McLaughlin was struggling. And
he came out today about Deneve, and Ishmael said that he wasn't showing him enough energy in the half, apparently.
Right. Well, I don't understand that because
I don't understand
that. Chase back from 2/3 in their half and be the furthest player back to make a really crucial interception. So fine. But I do think that McLaughlin was getting exposed in that first half. I thought Leicester had sussed us out a little bit, and they looked at our centre halves and realised they don't want to be out wide, and they were dragging McLaughlin wide time and time again. So maybe when they've analysed it, they've looked at that and thought that's Deneve not being in the right place. They will know where they wanted him better than us, and that didn't happen in the second half. So, maybe I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt with that one because they were definitely getting exposed. And what was happening was Wharton was having to come across as well, which is not what he wants to do. And there's a lot of last-ditch stuff going on. So, fair enough. If they've spotted that, then I'm going to give them even more credit because it possibly well was then Deneve's lack of positioning.
So this is what he said. Confirmed. He felt that he wasn't providing the energy needed down the left, which I was quite shocked at to read because I was the same as you. I didn't think it was a position that I was concerned about.
No, but I am willing to let that to trust them. I think they've earned a bit of money in the bank there with the tactical switch in the first half, and then the fact we've gone on to win the game, and McLaughlin was not getting exposed in the same way in the second half. So if they've pinpointed, if that's what it was, and they've pinpointed Neva's not getting back quick enough, fair play to them. You know, it wasn't something that stood out to me, but I'm not done the training with them, and I don't know where Deneva should be. It will be quite obvious if you've done training, and every time he gets the ball, you should be back here. If he's not, and I've seen that before I talked about it with Marishta. He absolutely played hell at Marishta. All half against, I think, Mohamed Stoke. Get back. And then he didn't play him subsequently, and he took him off at half time. So I don't mind that.
Well, we ended up starting the half decent. You know, we carried on relative control of the game. I think Leicester had one opportunity maybe quite early on. I'll be honest, I'd had a drink. I'm not going to lie to you. So I'm struggling to remember everything in detail. And then we make another sub. Now, this is someone I want to ask you about. Now, I put a poll out there to do with Taylor Gardner-Hickman versus Travis. I didn't put any context on the poll. I just put it out there. And the results were 58.6% towards Taylor Gardner-Hickman. And that is a no context poll. What did you think of Gardner-Hickman? You get subbed off on the 61st minute for Christy Montgomery. What did you think of TGH?
I think I see a different Gardner-Hickman to everyone else. I've watched him now a number of times. I think on the ball he's okay. But I think a comparison to Richie Smallwood would be fairer than Lewis Travis. And I don't think Travis was, when we finished 7th and we were looking to improve, I think maybe not last season's Travis, but I think there's an argument to say Travis isn't good enough to get you in the playoffs anyway. Gardner-Hickman for me is a downgrade on Lewis Travis. The reason I say that is when I watch games back, Tronstad's got some stick, and I've given him a little bit. I don't think he's performing at the level. But I've said time and time again, Sondre Tronstad's weakness, if you like, if you want to exploit him, it will be make him move around the pitch at speed. And when you watch Gardner-Hickman, he plays in isolation. And I don't mean in a selfish way at all. I think he's a very unselfish player. But positionally, he doesn't play as a duo with Tronstad. He will go and chase balls, and maybe he's told to do this, I don't know. But he will go and press balls when there's no one pressing behind, so it doesn't look quite right. But then Tronstad is left to cover this element where he's left and his own area. And I think that's where he's getting exposed a few times. I'm not just pinning Tronstad's performances on Gardner-Hickman. I watch him, and I don't think I see what everyone else sees. So I am out on my own, and I'm fine. Everyone has opinions, but for me, I think he's a downgrade on Travis. I think he's a poor man's Travis, and that's saying something. But I think he's also probably our second choice midfielder right now, and I think that's more of an indictment on our midfield. I'm not saying I'd have Tavares in ahead of him. I think the closest one we've got right now with his subs performances is Montgomery.
So to go back to the Gardner-Hickman, I think he's still learning the system, learning the team. And we look at Tronstad and Travis, and it took them a while to get them together and working, because any partnership, it has to develop. It's very rare that they just instantly kick off. And we had the same with Tronstad and Travis. I'm okay with Gardner-Hickman. He's not a world beater, and I don't think he's someone I look at and think he's got potential. I think he is who he is. And I think what he is someone that on the ball, he looks okay. And this is from a championship level and a mid to low championship level team, if we're being honest. I think on the ball he's okay. I think going forward he's okay. I mean, he can score goals. He can get himself out there. I like the fact that he does put himself out there into challenges as well. He seems to be quite happy to get into a scuffle. I mean, he doesn't do the dark arts as good as Travis. But I think he's willing to kind of get in there. I think he's got a little bit of energy as well. He seems to be a jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to the midfielder. So if you think about his skill set as a central midfielder. It's not like he excels in anything particular, but it's not like he fails massively at anything in particular. Whereas I think that Travis, he had spikes in certain things that he was good at, but then he had some lows as well. So I think going forward, Travis was pretty poor. I think creativity-wise with Travis, he was pretty poor. But I think getting back, he was willing to put his body on the line. He was willing to raise people around him. He was willing to be a shithouse as well, which is massively important in this league. So I think he had some good things about him. The thing about Travis for me was, as a footballer, I needed more from him. And in my opinion, I think that Gardner Hickman probably is a little bit better at certain things than what Travis was. But I don't think he's a starting central mid for us. I think he's done quite well stepping in and doing what he's done, but I think he's still got to learn quite a bit. I've seen more from Christy Montgomery with Tronstad than Gardner Hickman with Tronstad. But to compare Gardner Hickman to Travis, I think it'd be unfair on Travis now to compare them and say that I prefer Gardner Hickman to Travis, because Travis gave the club a lot. But I don't know, if you said to me right now, would I prefer Travis to Gardner Hickman, I would say Gardner Hickman. But if you said who would have preferred to partner Tronstad, it'd be Travis, if that makes sense. Because I just feel like as a partnership, they actually worked really, really well, especially last year. But it took them a while to develop. But as an individual player, I would probably prefer Gardner Hickman. Does that make sense?
It does. It's not often we disagree, but we do disagree on this, Mike.
Fair play.
Just while we're talking about that, I've just thought I'd have a look at Valérien Ismail's, see if he was making any sense. They've obviously both played a half. There's the heat map for those that can't see it. Ryan Hedges appears to have covered an awful lot more ground than Dineva. Now, it doesn't cover their how many kilometres, because we don't have that information. We don't have the data back. But I've had a look
deeper possession there, can't you?
We can. And when I've had a look at it deep, this is off SofaScore. When I've had a look deeper into the stats of it as well, Hedges has won more duels, more tackles, more crosses. So to be fair, as well as the fact that McLaughlin didn't seem as exposed, he seems right on that one as well. Does Ismail? He's having a good week. So while he's doing that, we'll praise him. It's like a referee. I don't normally praise him, so I will do. But to finish on Gardner Hickman, I put your comments in. But for me, I thought Richie Smallwood was very limited as a footballer, but knew what he did well. I'm not saying that's Gardner Hickman. I think you're right. You summed it up perfectly for me. Fully committed. Like the bloke. Think he's somebody you want in your squad, somebody you want at your club. But jack of all trades, master of none right now. However, he's very new to a very new team. So I'm all right with it. I just don't think right now, I think people who would put him in the team ahead of Travis are bonkers right now. And I don't think Travis was a world beater. I am not saying that by any stretch.
I do miss the Travis Tronstad partnership. Very similar to how I miss the McLaughlin Hine partnership, how that was going. But I think Wharton stepped in really well, and we can't even question Wharton now. It's just funny because, I mean, we're coming away from the game and I don't want us to, but just quickly, I just remember us being so negative when Hyam left and just wondering how things were going to happen. And this is only 2 games and we could go and lose another 10 and we're all now getting... But it just shows that the league is so volatile, it's so chaotic that it doesn't take much to kind of get a result. And I mean, there was so much that happened in this game. I mean, I haven't even spoken about the fact that they had a goal that was offside. And we've gone straight into the fact that we got our goal, and we've started the second half quite well, and we made some subs. But the league is so chaotic that we seem to be getting results with players that we didn't expect would are performing.
But I think if you have a system that's well drilled and you have belief in your system as players, you will get results in this league. I think it's a poor league. I've yet to see a team really come to Ewood and think, oh my God, they're world beaters. I saw Coventry score 2 goals in 2 minutes and thought we couldn't have scored them 2 goals, but they didn't look amazing. I've not seen, I'm trying to remember off the top of my head now, but I don't recall seeing a team where I go, oh my God, they are levels above us. I think it's a poor league, but I mean, yes, we did say that about De Gea, but I stand by it. I think we've put ourselves in an unnecessary position. I think we're playing 3 at the back because we're forced to. I think it's working better. But I still, and as much as I think Lewis Miller's learning that role, I think it's so unfair to put a right back who's played right wing back and need him to perform at right centre half. I think we are relying on him playing 3 games a week. We're relying on Wharton playing 3 games a week, and the same for McLaughlin. And McLaughlin looks like a yellow card waiting to happen all the time. Wharton's been out for so many months. Alibiosu also cannot have a rest now in a position where he must be covering about 100 kilometres a game because Miller's the backup for him, and he can't play there because we need him. So we have left ourselves unnecessarily exposed. And I think when you had a player that played 50 consecutive games, I'm not again saying Dom Hyam was a world beater. My issue was, and still is, when you have a player that you can basically hang your hat on that's going to be fit week in, week out, 3 games in a week, you're idiots to get rid of him when you're then relying on the people that are around him. I understand the finances of it. I get all of that. But I just think we've given ourselves an unnecessary problem. And I still think that will rear its head when we're playing 3 games in a week like we are this week. We've got a number of players that are yellow cards waiting to happen and are walking a bit of a tightrope. Fortunately, it's not really the centre halves. But on McLaughlin, yes, I thought early on he impressed me. He's better than I thought. I thought him and Hyam looked really good. But he did get exposed at weekend, albeit it would appear it was maybe Denevers. But he got exposed. And the more I watch him, the more I think I was wrong. Hold my hands up. Scott Wharton is the better of the two. I think McLaughlin, I said it last week, I think I can see why Hull fans were annoyed he's left from the squad, but I can also see why he wasn't playing every week.
No, I agree. And that's why we're relying on Tote so much. If you're relying on your goalkeeper to make the saves that he's making, then you know that the defence is opening up a little bit more than what it needs to. We'll get on to Tote save in a minute. So we go 2-0 up. Good Johnson again. What did you think of that goal? Because I just thought, again, the position and the instincts.
The way, if you watch the few camera views of his first goal and his second, you just watch his movement. The first goal is so nonchalant running into the box. He's not in there too early. He's calm about it. He anticipates the ball might drop there. He goes, and that's when striker scores, when you think it might drop there. And he then made it look simple. And his second goal, the way he goes on the blind side of the defender, and then at the last minute comes round him to get quality. That is top quality. Said a couple of weeks ago, I think that he does certain things that I've seen. He's got all the elements of a top championship player. He's big, he's strong. His movement's pretty good. His touch is pretty good. When he flicks a ball, it's not a arty-farty little flick that could go anywhere because he can't be bothered to control it properly. It's with intent. His first touch is always right and means that he can either lay the ball off or he's laying it to somebody else. I just think there's a lot of quality around him. He needed some goals. And what I saw when he scored was his instinct came back and the way he'd run off that defender. That is real high quality stuff. And he's still a young boy. I think we do need to talk about their offside goal, though, because when I've watched it back, Sky, that's all they seem to focus on. Whether he touched it or not, he was blocking. I mean, I'm sure you're going to back me up on this, Mike, being, I don't want to speak for you, but being a goalkeeper, whether he touches it with his head or not, he is massively impacting what Tote was going to do. So Tote would have saved it if he wasn't there. He had to make a bit of an adjustment and wait because of where was it their number 10, wasn't it? Was in front of him. Whether he headed it or not isn't absolutely irrelevant to me. Where he was stood was enough. So, if it's the old, if my auntie had a pair pair of knackers should be my uncle. It's absolutely irrelevant.
Yeah, he's impacted play. So
yeah,
it's one of those where if it was us, we'd be absolutely fuming. If it's them, it was a great decision. It was offside, but no, I think it was. I heard a few people say that we got away with it. I don't think we did.
No.
I thought it was a definite one, but they did miss their chances. But I like you said in your reaction, they missed some chances. They had an opportunity to score. I get that, but I felt like we had quite a lot of opportunities to score, and I'm getting a little bit concerned about our Japanese pairing and missing chances. And I'm hoping that something flies in for one of them at some point. But we had our opportunities.
No, yeah. I mean, if you want to go and look at XG for whatever that's worth, it was higher than theirs in both halves. I think Marishta needs a bit of confidence, needs a bit of an arm around him. I'm not sure if Ismail does that. Don't think he necessarily does. But at 28, he should be a big enough boy to get over it and get on with it. I think he is looking like a player who feels like he has to do everything perfect to keep his place in the team. That's impacting his performances, and it probably is true as well at the minute. In terms of Ohashi, I think some of Ohashi's is because he's doing so much work that he's probably knackered when he's getting in them positions. But his confidence isn't flowing the same because he's not scoring freely. But I'm all right with it because I actually think that we've talked about Ohashi he's probably not a number 9. I don't think he does enough in the number 10 sometimes. You look at him as a number 9 and you want him to do exactly what he does in the number 9 role with a number 9 ahead of him. And that's kind of what he's doing now. Whereas when he plays 10, he plays it differently than he does. Almost a false 9, which I hate that phrase. But I think in the role he's doing now, we are maximising his strengths. We're playing to them. We're playing to the fact he likes to press. He likes to drift off into spaces. He's quite a creative player. And he likes to have a bit of a ping at goal every now and again. But it's not essential that he's your main goal threat. And I like that where I'm at with Ohashi. I think for me, we've actually found a real niche role for him.
Yeah. If he has that kind of energy and creativity, then you're going to have a striker down Good Johnson that can really feed off of that. And then you can bring in your Marishtas and so on that will hopefully spin off him. I said that Ohashi in the number 10 was back when Gay was actually someone that we could go on. I said I'd have Ohashi in that number 10. And that was just because of his energy. He had that Smodic style energy, and I'm not saying he's going to get to the Smodic's goals, but he had that kind of energy, and I feel like he's the kind of player that would be quite willing to do the unsung work, and I'm happy for that. And if they're now learning Good Johnson and where he's going to make his runs and so on, because that's the other thing as well. When you've got a striker, Gested and Rhodes said that they had an unspoken thing where one would go far post, one would go near post, and they'd know who would go where and so on, and the balls would be then crossed, and they know exactly where people are going to be. You still need to learn these players. And Good Johnson now, I think they're learning, and now the likes of Marishta and Ohashi, Henriksen, Cantwell, from the centre point of view, and then obviously from wingers, they need to learn where these movements are going to be. And I think Ohashi could really do well in that position. I think he's just got to take the pressure off himself with the goals. I'm just concerned that he's going to be concerned. But if Good Johnson's getting the goals and we're going to start getting some games, some points, then I don't think he needs to worry. But that's where the manager needs to manage him. But it sounds like the manager seems to be quite happy with Ohashi, but he's giving Marishta a little bit more stick.
Oh, every time I've seen him, he's having a pop at him about his willingness to run, really. That seems to be his main priority. But I believe we are outrunning teams, out pressing teams, out sprinting teams, and that's what he wants. So, to be fair, if you're going to play that style, if one of the players isn't, that's when it falls down, doesn't it? You've either all got to press or you might as well none of you press. So, okay. And while it's working, I'm absolutely fine with it. I think Ohashi does need to take the pressure off himself if he's not the main striker, but he then needs to fall into the bracket of what we talked about with Dolan, where you need to be getting at least 10 goal involvements, at least. And he's falling way short of that at the minute. But he's doing a lot of good work, and he's winning the ball back in really key positions. So I'm all right with how he's doing at the minute for me.
And when we go 2-0 up, what was your thoughts then for the rest of the game? Do you feel like the game was in the bag then?
I'm a bit sad. So I'm emotionally invested, but I was really interested how we'd respond. So I'm just watching our response now, thinking, yeah, the confidence is going to fall, but how are we going to do it? How are we going to shut this game down? Are we going to sit deep? And I loved what we did. We didn't really change what we were doing, but nothing happened for 10 minutes. We talked about that under Eustace, how that almost made us uncomfortable because that's not normal what happens. We carried on playing exactly the same way, and that's what you should be doing, but it's very difficult to do. Your instinct is to go, right, we're 2-0, let's just sit back a bit. But Leicester are going to pour forward, and it's having the cojones to just say, well, we don't need to just throw more men backwards to counteract that. We'll keep doing what we're doing. And actually, if they keep throwing more men forward, we'll get more chances. And I just thought we just sharpened our focus. We all did our jobs exactly as we should, and absolutely nothing happened in the game. And actually, they didn't throw the kitchen sink at us, really. It was more us when we brought Make-A-Wish Maktar on, and he did that run where he went from, oh my God, what is he doing, to, oh my God, how has he done that? Oh my God, how's he missed in about 3 seconds?
He makes me laugh so much.
The
frustrating thing is you look at him and you just think, I thought the same thing. When he was through, I was like, oh, just slot it in. You know, that's what you need to do. And then suddenly he's got his back to goal. He's got defenders around him. I'm like, I'm not sure how this has happened.
No.
And then suddenly, then obviously he's missed, and you're like, this is why you're not getting your opportunities, mate. It's like you're either offside or you're missing chances like this. And he's just decision making. He's just an absolute space cadet.
There was one ball that somebody played long, and he was about 5 yards ahead, so towards our goal away. And then he controlled the ball, and then the flag went up, and I was like, of course, he was still somehow managed to be offside. He's just, I don't know. I love him, but I don't know.
Well, we called it early, didn't we? We said he's going to be a cult hero. And we said after a few games, there's just, whether we don't play to his strengths, I don't know, but his strengths are limited. Yeah. And when he comes on, he's got to take these opportunities. He's not going to be with us by the end of the season. He's going to be gone. And it's a shame because he seems like a nice guy. But when they put that video out of him and Cantwell with the Sky Bet content creators, whoever it was, that was pretty damning for me watching him do that. I want any footballer that is semi-pro and above to do better than what he did. And it was a bit embarrassing when he was hitting the top of the bloody training centre with shots. But yeah, that was pretty damning.
I stand by my barometer is if I'd be disappointed with that action by a footballer, something's wrong. And I've said it before, and I throw the gauntlet down to Blackburn Rovers. But if they want us to take them on, if you can't beat the first man from a corner consistently, if you can't hit the target like he wasn't doing, something's wrong. Something is real. In training, I'm talking about. I'm not talking about, taking a penalty in front of 80,000 baiting people. I understand that's a different ballgame. But I would expect people that you watch that you think they're not technically that good, I kind of always stand by the fact that you watch them in training and I bet they can ping wherever they want, really. I think we've all probably played with a retired ex-professional footballer at some point who's 20 years older than you and you can't get anywhere near. And you kind of expect that to be the case. And you think, yeah, Maktar's doing that on the pitch, but I bet in training he hits top bins every time. It doesn't appear so watching that Sky video, does it?
No, I'm just going to put this. We're completely off topic now, but I'm going to say something about the corners thing. Like most pitches are raised, so
it does make a difference.
They need to run up to take.
Right, so I have played on Ewood.
It looks difficult.
So I used to take corners for school teams, college teams that play for, not a great level. But I would be able to hit it more often than not over the first man and pretty much where you wanted me to hit it consistently. I did it at Ewood, and what you tend to do, you run up a banking that's pretty steep. And there's not much. You probably got put a foot to plant your foot and then kick the ball. You are coming underneath it all the time, and obviously they don't have that at the training. So I understand that if that just happened at Ewood, but it happens at other grounds as well. But yeah, you're right. But what tends to happen is you tend to, a bit like if anyone plays golf, you come in underneath it more. So actually, if anything, you get what I found. I got too much air on it, and it was going too high and loopy. So if anything, Mike, how they then hit the first man makes it even more bizarre. But yeah,
it just looks massively.
It is
awkward.
weird.
I mean, when I took goal kicks, I never took a massive run up because I was just trying to clip it over to the winger. I wasn't trying to get much distance, and I never had to run up that much. But then there was a couple of times I had to, and I was playing on this really dodgy pitch, and I had to run uphill to then get onto the pitch to then take the bit. And it was only like a foot that I had to do, but it just really stumped my run up. And I was thinking, if I was going to take a corner where I'm having to run up, readjust my stance completely, plant my foot, and then take a corner, it just looks massively difficult, especially if you're taking an in-swinger, because I feel like an in-swinger, you can't wrap your foot around because you're coming up, if you know what I mean. But anyway, we digress. This is something we will talk about again at some point. So we'll leave this game in a sec. Let's just talk about Tote's save. What from my point of view with it, it's again using the term instincts. He just followed the ball, and what's difficult is it's gone through two defenders, so you don't expect that. So to not react to that twice. No, was it one defender or two defenders?
No, so it's come to the near post, and Wharton looks like he's. I'll tell you what my initial thought was watching it was, how many times do you see a player just go to clear the ball, and it happened at Burnley once with Shane Duffy, I think it was, and they don't see the attacker on their blind side. They step in front with their foot, and this defender cleans them out. That's what I thought was about to happen. But Wharton, I think, realised that at the last minute and has let the ball run. Then it goes past another defender, and then it lands at their player's feet, doesn't it?
Yeah, I've just seen it again. I had a quick look, but he doesn't react to that, and for me, that is so good that he doesn't react to that, because he's ready to react to whatever happens, and then to do the Schmeichel spread. Basically, what he's done is he's tracked where the ball's going to go. So rather than just watching the ball, he's like scanning kind of a yard or two ahead. So then he can then react to whatever, and then obviously it's just a fantastic, brave spread, because he could have got hit in the balls at any point in that one, and he's down. I just thought it was a fantastic save. But what it's showing is he's just building his confidence, and we knew from the start that we was going to be getting a decent keeper, because international, there was a few teams looking at him, but I actually think he's doing better than I thought he would. Because he wasn't getting past pairs, and that concerned me. We'd been knocked out the cups, so we wasn't seeing him play there.
Yeah.
When we did see him, there was a couple of moments where there was a little bit shaking. A few decisions weren't great. But he starts this season, and he's just gone on. It just shows how confidence and minutes just means so much to a goalkeeper. And I think we can all say that we've got a good one now.
Completely agree. I mean, I've watched that back, and I saw people saying about the striker, oh, he's got to score there. Yeah, it's a good save, but he's got to score there. Watch it back, and there's an angle from behind the striker. I don't actually know where else he can put the ball. He's got his foot round it as much as he can to whip it. He's trying to get it in the far corner away from the keeper. I don't actually think he can do anything else. I think he does as much as he can. And I think Tote's just made it impossible for him because of how close he is and how far he's spread himself. It's just, even his trailing legs on the floor covering that. It's It's an outstanding save. Obviously, the technical details of his feet and the way that you're talking about there, that he doesn't react to the earlier elements, you'll pick up on far more. But I just think he's looking steadier and steadier. And I think I go back to something you talked about last year when we were saying about having two keepers almost that are a similar level. If you're not playing one week or you do drop them, that a keeper who's trying to keep his place in the team and trying to do something to show he's a good keeper is worrying. And I think that's possibly what Tote was doing a bit last year. I think the Middlesbrough game in the Cup, he was very calm and composed. Against Wolves, he looked like he was trying to impress. And I think that's a worry sometimes. And he tried to come out for one, didn't he, and spread himself. And I think he probably committed trying to do something when he maybe wouldn't do now. But I just thought I forgot about the goalkeeping issue. It's the best compliment I can give him. There was a debate at the weekend about, is he the best that we've had since Kaminski? I went further back than that. I think Kaminski was fortunate in that he came after and around some horrific goalkeepers in our time. And we've been fortunate with goalkeepers. I mean, Friedel, Flowers, even Paul Robinson, unless you shot from 30 yards, was a decent keeper. I don't think he was amazing, Robinson. But I didn't think Kaminski was, but I think he was sort of a 7 out of 10. He saved, the way I describe him is he saved everything he should save, probably nothing else that he shouldn't do, but he didn't make many errors. But I still think I used to look at David Raya and say, I can see how your potential is unbelievable. I think he used to save things he had no right to save, a bit like Todd did there. And then he had elements that he makes silly errors that he needed to work on. But I watched him and thought Raya was the best keeper I've seen in a long time. I think there was stuff to work on, but in terms of potential as much as anything. So I wasn't sure whether he will be Kaminski and sort of save everything he should save and maybe nothing else. I'm now seeing him do stuff that he has no right to do. So I think I'm going to put him and say for me, he's the best since Raya.
Yeah, so what I want to see from Tote now is coming for crosses, claiming them, being secure. I was a big fan of Kaminski. I might be looking through rose-tinted glasses at some of his performances. I know that he had some ricks in him, but most goalkeepers do. He had the game against Birmingham City where he just kept us in it and we had no right to win, and he goes and has a game like that. So I was very high up on Kaminski. Raya, he had so much potential, you could tell. He wasn't the Raya that we see now, obviously, for us or Brentford. I was surprised. I'm surprised that Ray has done what he's done based on what I saw at Rovers, but he was solid. But like you said, we had some absolute god-awful goalkeepers. And after being a club that used to have such good goalkeepers, like you say, Flowers, Phelan, Friedel, these were goalkeepers that were absolute solid. And there was more past that to then go to like your Jason Steele's, Jake Keane. I feel really bad like bringing
Sandor Mierski.
Yeah, we had some absolutely awful ones, and then like you say, then to go to Raya that had a lot of potential, fantastic, and then obviously on then towards Kaminski, who I thought was very solid. But I do think that if Tote goes on this trajectory, and we start to see some more performances out of him, and also coming out and claiming some crosses, I think that's the next thing for me. I want him to be, if the ball's coming in the box, it's his. Now he isn't massive and he's not built, but I just want him to see him now command his box a little bit more on the crosses. And I think that's generally a football thing right now, where unless you're the Stoke keeper or someone like that seems to claim absolutely everything that comes in. But if it's in the 6-yard box from a corner, I want it to be his. If it's towards the penalty spot from a deep cross, I want him to start coming for some of those. We've seen some. I just want to see a little bit more consistency, but I think he's brilliant. So before we just move on to the next two games, because obviously time's getting on, the 3-word reactions, obviously we put out there. I had a little look at some of the fan reactions, and there's a lot of tongue-in-cheek. We're the same, talking about announced promotion, things like that. I think we just the fans just seem to be enjoying the results at the moment. But what are the 3-word reactions that caught your eye?
I've got more than usual, Mike, that I'm going to share because they were just class. I think Steve Saunders. This is definitely a bit of a dig. Data was correct. Mixie, Waterkeeper, had to mention that. Owen Charnlin, I think this is because he's becoming almost regular now. We barely mentioned him today. Ali Biosu is mint. Ali Biosu, I think we're going to have a debate at some time whether he's more effective than Callum Britton. Well, I'm not saying he's better, but more effective. John Lee, good job, son. But then I can't let this not go. Jolly Ollie Collins from, the big Rovers content creator, not the most handsome, bold content creator. But he has put Montgomery, And that is because all weekend, all I've had in my head was the Montgomery song. Yes.
It is a good chant, to be fair. Yeah, I was very happy with that result, and we're now up into 19th position. The giddy heights of 19th position,
steady
which
on,
is
boys.
a game in hand, 4 points above relegation. And let's assume that we win that game in hand against Ipswich, and that puts us on to 16 points, which is only 1-2 points behind 10th place. So. It shows that a couple of results can just change the outlook. But tomorrow night, which is so we record on the Monday night, Tuesday night we go away to Bristol, and Bristol are doing quite well. They did lose to Stoke, I believe, 5-1, which was not shameful because Stoke are obviously a good side. But is that going to help us?
I don't think that particular result will help us. I think they'll be fired right back up. I'm a bit worried that the ex-Dingle Scott Twine appears to be doing very well this season. Very quickly go through sort of Bristol City. For those who don't know much about them, they tend to have less possession than the opposition. 21 goals scored. We've scored 12. They played a game more. I don't think we're going to get 7. What's that? My maths is crap. 9 goals in our game in hand, though. They've conceded 16 goals, though, Mike, to our 17. So if we're going to go back to Hitch's bets, I think what we're going to be talking about here is a 3-2 result. And I'm not sure which way it will go. I'm going to be honest. I don't like predicting us to lose. But I think I'll take a score draw now. And then battering Derby.
Yeah, I'd take anything from this game. I think it's going to be extremely difficult. What's quite interesting is they are a team that seem to do quite well midweek against us, as we've seen previously. But we have had results against them. I would take anything right now. I don't think we're going to have a major performance capitulation like we've done. I think it's going to be interesting to see how he sets up. I won't be surprised if he carries on how he left off against Leicester, because it was quite a flexible formation, so you can kind of adjust things. I do think it's going to be a high scoring game. I just hope we get something out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, at Bristol City, we've had an absolutely horrific record against them. I mean, I remember the 5-0 under Eustace. It was 2-1 last year to Bristol City. We've had a 1-1. The last time we beat them at Bristol City was 2019 when Adam Armstrong and Bradley Johnson scored. We've had a 4-1 defeat there. There was the 5-3 when Rhodes got a hat-trick, I think, when we won. But more often than not, they absolutely annihilate us at Bristol City. And I think that's probably where my head is at when I'm looking at the result and thinking, I'd take a draw right now. But I fear a defeat. But I think that's just because of their record against us. But it counts for absolutely sod all, especially when we've got a completely different 11. I think the way we're going, we're pretty solid. We know our jobs. we've nothing to fear. They have just been battered, so they'll come at us. We do tend to struggle midweek in general. That's just a standard for us. And it's a long trip after Leicester, but we played at midday, so it's not the end of the world. But I'd take a draw right now.
I think that's the thing. I think because we're at their place and it's midweek, I think that's why I'm just take anything kind of situation. Because, like you say, I mean, we've got since 2019, the last 5 results have been Bristol have won 3 of them. We've drawn 2, so it's not exactly a happy hunting ground for us. But we do tend to struggle midweek away at times. So, but you never know. It is the Championship, and stranger things have happened. I'm more focused on the Derby game. I think, and it's not for the obvious reasons of them being Rovers B team. I think it's because it's this 150th game, because it's at home, because we've come off a couple of good results, and they're close to us. So there's just a few storylines here that makes me really focused on that game. And I think if we can put in a good performance in front of our own fans that brings us closer to Derby in points on a game that means a lot to the club, I think this then could build us for the season.
Yeah, and obviously it's the last game before another break, so we need to end this on a positive result. We both play Tuesday night, so that's, if anything, the Tuesday night performances will suffer because of the short gap between the games. I know when you talk to anybody in football, the difference between playing on a Tuesday from a Saturday to a Wednesday is massive, but similarly the other way around. So they should be fully recovered and be ready to go again on Saturday. It's obviously a midday kickoff. It's a massive occasion for the club. I think they need that to go really well, because nobody really wants to sit in their seat and watch Rovers. I mean, they're calling them legends. It's whoever was available who used to play for us against old Etonians. But you can imagine, do you want to stay for that after? It doesn't feel like a celebration season. We are not doing any special pods or anything, which you would do normally on 150th year. I know that We Are the Rovers Trust are doing very much 135 years and 15 years because of obviously Venky's reign. And it does feel like a bit of a damp squib at the minute. So beating Derby and then having a bit of a celebration atmosphere, then having a week or so off would be perfect, really. I think the Derby game's a tricky one, though. It's obviously there's the fact that there's about 83 million connections between the two clubs, but you're right, they're in and around us. We know all about John Eustace. They've not hit the ground running this season, and they're going to need points at Ewood the same as we will. They play Hull midweek. That should go in their favour at home, but you just never know. They're scoring a similar amount to us. They're conceding a very similar amount to us. Very un-Eustace-like, really. I don't think any of their players will have a massive gripe. I mean, it looks like Travis is injured. Danny Bart isn't really playing. Wiemann will come off the bench and score because that's what he does. Owen Beck, I think's barely been fit since he joined. Brereton Díaz will play, which, yeah, he'll probably score. But I think it's not necessarily about Derby. I think had Derby been a different game, my focus would have been all about Eustace and the returning players. The storyline is the 150th year has felt a bit disappointing as a celebration, and not because of anything the club have done in terms of the lack of celebrations. I think they're putting events on. They're doing there's an evening with Souness and Mowbray, and there's things like that. And that's absolutely fine. And obviously there's the anniversary kit, which we hope isn't the leaked one. But I just feel that they need this to go their way. I could see.
I think there's so many storylines, and I think that the big one is just how the season's gone. I think you're right, 100% right. How the season's gone, the fact that you're coming up to, a good point of the season where you're getting a good look now of what the rest of the season's going to go like. Ignoring the game against Bristol, if you go and you get a good result, that is the thing people are going to remember, and that's how we're going to bounce back after the international break. With you don't, with how Bristol are playing, you don't expect to go there and get anything. But I expect in a game like this that we go and we do something against Derby.
Yeah. And Rovers, to be fair to them, tickets are £18.75 because obviously it's £18.75 when we were formed for adults. They've limited Derby to 2,300 or something. It's very strange that they've only given them one half the bottom tier. I don't know why they've not given more tickets. It's very strange. Normally they give an initial allocation and then more. I can't imagine. I've not had a look, but we are selling the whole ground out right now. But wouldn't it be great to show us as this is what our club could be? This is what, forget Venky's for a little bit. I believe there's going to be a protest at the game. I believe there might even be something in the air. There's rumours circulating. So people are going to use it as an opportunity to make a point to the owners. But my focus is on the game. And I just hope for everybody involved, we win the game. We have a beer in our seat afterwards. We watch Corey Evans and co. beat old Etonians, and do you know what? You go, oh yeah, do you remember Rhodes playing? Weren't he good? And you can have a look at it like that. If you lose, it's going to be very difficult to do that, and unfortunately, I think most people will disappear. So I just hope for everyone involved and for the football club, it deserves more than having 3,000 people watching the 150th anniversary game, which is the old Etonians element. I mean, not the other. So.
No, and people, put your thoughts down below on the game. Are you going? What's your thoughts on potential protests? Is it the right time to do it? Is it not? Should we put certain things aside for just 1 week and ignore what's happening now and think about the history of the club? What's your opinions? Obviously, we all have our own, and I'm not here to stir anything up. But put down below what your thoughts. And obviously, the leaked kit. Now, let's have a little look at this one. So let me find, there we go. So for people that haven't seen it, it's a white number. It's got the blue Maltese cross on the left breast. It's a simple long-sleeved one button down. I'm not going to lie, I quite like it. Now, I've seen a lot of people say they really don't like it, and I think I'm in the minority. What's your thoughts?
I mean, it fits in terms of it is our first kit. It's the thing that's making me a little unsure, though, is that looks very added by a computer as a crest. And this is on a soccer shop website. I think it's come from, hasn't it? So it's very unlikely that it will look exactly like that. I find it difficult. I think that might be the basis of it. I don't think it'd be far off. I think it'd be white. What I do like is that the Macron isn't visible. They're going to have their thing on. Watson Ramsbottom on there are not, and yet they are sponsoring the kit. So that would lead you to believe they've, allowed the club not to put it on. Yeah, which is great. I do think that this will have many, many elements of the final product. I just can't believe that it just doesn't look quite right, does it? If you know what I mean, it looks like you're the computer expert between us, Mike, but that looks like it's been added after the shirt has been made to me.
Yeah, it does look like a mock-up rather than the actual finished article. But I like the idea of it. I like the long sleeve, all white. I like the button down. It has an old-fashioned feel with the modern technology, of material. But yeah, it doesn't look like this is a proper leak. It looks like it's someone's put it out there. But I think if it comes out like that, I think I like it. I mean, is it going to? It's not going to be on open sale, isn't it? Isn't it limited sale?
I believe there'll be limited release. Yeah, and I don't know the exact figure. I would imagine. I think somebody said when Macron have done one before, not for Rovers obviously, but they were about £80 and they came in maybe a box or whatever. I mean, let's be honest, our original kit was white with a Maltese cross. So I fully expected that that's what the kit would look like and I did think the Macron logo would be on, but would be hidden like that. And I didn't think it would have Watson round the bottom. So even if this isn't it, it's not going to look dramatically different. How much can you do with a plain white kit? Tottenham have been trying to do that for years. But the fact that it might be long sleeve, great. Kits were. I love it if we have the cap to go with it. That would be amazing.
I was just about to say, what do you think the shorts are going to look like? Is they going to be in like the long john trousers?
Hopefully, long brown trousers with a belt.
Leather boots,
old boots,
cap on,
and a cap. Great. I mean, if they all walked out with that on, and obviously the cap wasn't worn, I'd understand that. But maybe not a belt. But if they had something with slightly longer shorts, and it'd be class, wouldn't it? To be fair, Maktar in a flat cap is what I want to see.
I would love it. I would love it. I wouldn't be surprised if they do like an old-fashioned team photo and stuff, and with all the FA Cups around them and things like that. I wouldn't be surprised if they did something like that. It'd be quite funny seeing Deneva with his look with that kind of cap on. It'd be quite funny. But I as the shirt, if it came out like that, I think I'd be really happy about it. I'd definitely get one. Like I said, that my one regret was not getting that Kappa one. Didn't get my hands on one of those, and I still scour Vinted and eBay and so on to see if anyone's ever selling them. And the only ones I ever see are in terrible condition. I don't know what they did with them. It's just like they had their dinner on them, which is disgusting behaviour for a collectible shirt. But yeah, put your thoughts down below. What do you think about it? What do you want the shorts and socks to look like? I personally like it, but Mark, we've hit the hour and 10 mark. What's the week going to have in store for us?
I think we've got a tricky game tomorrow night. I think if the manner of the performance will be one thing, but if we lose to Bristol City, I'm not going to be too hard on them unless the performance deserves it. It's all on the Derby game in many ways for me. I think it's the home game. It's 12:30. It's anniversary. It's everything in the mix there that I'll judge them more on that game, basically. I think we will have a difficult game tomorrow night. I could see us losing that, if I'm being honest. But I think we will bounce back against Derby. I think it'll be a draw, and a point from the week, including Bristol City, wouldn't be great. But I could see that happening. I think a minimum of 3 is needed, though, because we'll be back in the poop if not. So I'm going to go for us sneaking a draw at Bristol, 2-2. And I'm going to go that we will beat Derby. Brereton Díaz will score. And I won't forgive him for it. But then we will beat them 2-1 with a late goal. And everyone will be all jolly. We'll go downstairs, get a pint, come back in our seats and watch Corey Evans rolling back the years, passing the ball to Jordan Rhodes, who's going to ping it past some old Etonian keeper. And we'll all go, wow, get him signed up. And I'll be happy with that, if I'm being honest. I also just want to point out that the fans forum minutes are out. People keep asking me. I don't know if they're on the website. They are out. We've agreed them all. There were a couple of elements that we couldn't overly discuss for confidentiality. One being the kit, Mike. That's why it's reminded me. Fans have heard rumours about Adidas Special wanting to do the kit. We all pretty much unanimously love Adidas Special, and Sikari Aston is a Rovers fan and he's a curator of it. That would be amazing. But they're under contract with Macron, so you can't really talk about it. But yes, they are out. So if anyone wants to read them and wants to ask anything, I will go through stuff if they want next week. So I can't say anything that isn't on there really, but I can give a bit of detail. But what do you think the week's going to hold, Mike? Let's put you on the spot. You never give us a prediction. I'm gonna ask you to.
Because my predictions are always wrong.
That's all right.
So I'm going to say it's 2 losses.
All right, okay. That's what you're doing.
Right now, I would take a 3-0 loss at Bristol if it meant a 3-0 win against Derby.
Okay, yeah.
I really would. I think we're going to lose against Bristol. I think it's going to be a close one. I think it's going to be a little bit niggly for us. And I think we're going. I don't think we're going to get anything there, but I do have a good feeling against Derby. I think with the way that the game's gone, I'll be honest. I hope there isn't protests at that game. I hope that everyone just focuses on the game itself. I completely understand if people want to do it. Everyone's got their opinions on why it should be that at that point. But for me, I just hope that the game is about the history of the club and we just ignore everything else for one game and we see it as an isolated one and effectively we play it like a cup final. And that's what I want to see. I want to see everyone there, player-wise, just give absolutely everything and we get a really good result. So for me, I'm going to say a loss and a win, and that win's going to take us positively into the international break. But that's what I hope.
100%. I think I would urge people to go to the game. I think there's an element of, I'm not going to get into the ins and outs of protest, but there's an element of look at Sheffield Wednesday now. People are going, wow, what a big club. Look at them. Wouldn't you want to buy them? Just showing people Blackburn Rovers can be this club for one game would be lovely. And then, if you do an interview with Sky or whatever, being the build-up game, tell them, I haven't come for years because of the owners. If the owners leave, I'll come all the time. But this is my football club and no one's stopping me being this moment in history. For them, in terms of the players, I'm sure that we know they listen to us intently, but this is a game that will literally go down in the history books and will be looked at. Oh, what happened on the 100th anniversary? What happened on the 150th? You could be scoring the winner. But whether you do or you don't, the scoreline will be remembered. Please.
Well, this is exactly it. Yeah, so this is exactly it. So I'm not going to let my opinions on the owners right now sully the history of the club. And
exactly,
so in my opinion, this is the only anniversary game I'm probably going to, the last anniversary game I'm going to witness, because are they going to do one for 175?
Yeah,
they might do. But what am I going to be, like nearly 70 years old? I might not be here by then with the way I live my life. Who knows? I'm definitely not going to be here for the 200-year anniversary. So like, I don't want a special game that's about the history of the club to be ruined by my opinions on how the club's being run and so on. So that I don't want it to. It's kind of a, like, this sounds really bad, but like if you was having arguments and stuff around Christmas, like Christmas Day, you just like, let's put it all to one side just for Christmas Day, and we'll carry on arguing and Boxing Day. It's like that. It's like let's just
it's a good analogy
to one side for one game, because of what it means to the club, and the club is 150 years old. Let's not just think about what's happened in recent memory. Let's just celebrate the rest of it.
This is about Blackburn Rovers, not their current owners, not even their current players, their manager. It doesn't really matter who performs on the day. It's about Blackburn Rovers. This is about, I actually see this as it's not about me being a supporter and going, oh, I was at the game, but my family have done that for generations. So if I can go to the game, I should go to the game as a representative of them almost. Not that anyone cares, 100%. But just in terms of my family have gone to the game, so I should go to the game. And obviously I do anyway, but I just think that's how it should be seen. I think it's about Blackburn Rovers Football Club being 150 years old, one of the oldest clubs in memory, one of the founding members of the Football League, the founding member of the Premier League. I could do a promo on why people should buy Blackburn Rovers and how you could make money on them, but that's for a different pod and a different day. But it's about Blackburn Rovers, nothing else, and nothing more, nothing less.
Well, I think it's a great one to end on there, Mark. So we'll end it there. But again, people, put your comments down below on what we've just spoken about, other things that we've spoken about in the pod. Obviously, be respectful to everyone's opinions in the comments. This isn't about arguing. This is about having a nice conversation, and do all the good stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, keep sharing us. We're still trying to grow, and we're still trying to get those subscribers up. So before you do anything, make sure you have subscribed. But let's have a great week. Let's hopefully next week we're talking about 6 points in the bag and how we're looking at promotion. Well, we can hope anyway. So have a great one, and we'll see you next time.